up, guys? How we doing? Wednesday link on a Wednesday night too. We're
basically our
late,
normal time.
It's as close as it has been pretty much for the last 2 months. But Thomas, how we doing?
Doing good. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about today. Day 1 of training camp, and so we figured we'd be on time today and actually on the right evening. And wow, where do we even begin, Josh? Just welcome back to football. We've had football because we've been covering all off season long. OTAs, minicamp, even the NFL draft is exciting, but they practiced today, for real today. Today was for real, which is pretty darn exciting. So welcome everybody in the chat. Hope you guys have a bunch of fun tonight.
Yes. Appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to drop a like. We appreciate that. Subscribe if you have not already. Thomas has a pretty cool, pretty unique giveaway going on right now. I think most people have seen it. If they have not, do you have it with you? Is it right there?
I have one of them with
accessible?
me.
Okay,
I have one of the signed helmets. I don't have, can you see right there? There it is. I don't have the signed jersey, but I'm also doing tickets. I'm going to announce that on one of my next shows. So I'm giving away tickets as part of the 100K subscriber giveaway. So we're close. It'd be nice to hit this in the next couple of weeks, but we'll see. We're very close to 100,000. And of course, if you're subscribed, you have a chance to win multiple stuff, including Eagle tickets.
Creeping up there. So
getting close.
Not too long. We'll just say that. But you're right. It's good vibes. I mean, the Eagles football is back. I don't think for a lot of instances you realize how much you miss something until you don't have it and then it returns. And you're like, oh my gosh, yes, the feeling of football and watching highlights and clips and everything else from training camp. It's only day 1, and thank goodness we don't have any overreactions. Nobody's freaking out. Nobody's going over the moon. That's a little tongue in cheek, but it comes with the territory. I would rather have this than obviously the lull that we had over the last couple of months, month and a half. But we'll get into, all the storylines, topics, everything else. I don't know where to necessarily start, so it just so happens to be the first tweet that I have on the screen, and maybe we just go there and figure this thing out. Jordan Davis, looking pretty good. There's a comparison there for people that are not quite sure. It's self-explanatory, but Jordan Davis this year on the left compared to his rookie year, I know that's a ways, but if you stair step and go even from the last season or last couple years, I mean, we saw JD in person. I think he's even slimmer than that whenever we saw him, which was a month and a half ago or something like that at this point. But he's looking good. I know that's basically all you can say because I've still seen those comments. I'm sure you have as well of I don't care. Cool that he looks good. He's in shape, but can he prove it on the field? But at this point, that's all we have to go off of. And it's a positive sign. If nothing else, it's a positive sign.
Well, first off, Josh, my headphones are not working. So I know you were talking about Jordan Davis, but I couldn't hear you. So I'm not going to answer what you just said. Let me hang up and try and come back because I can't hear a word that you've been saying that entire time. And I was trying to fix it because I knew you were talking about Jordan Davis, but I'll BRB.
No worries. There we go. How about that? See, we're also, as we said last night with Anthony, for people that were, present on that one, we're working out the kinks. So we will figure it out. There's a reason that you see my screen now because you can't see it whenever we have 2 people, but it's just the side of the screen. As Thomas is leaving, and we'll get him to return back, by the way, I've got a giveaway also, very similar because we were both there at the Novacare Complex, but you want a signed Philly Dogs helmet. You got Kooper DeJean, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. Just make sure to subscribe. Appreciate you guys. We're almost 133,000 subscribers, so that's pretty legit. And let's see if this works. Thomas is joining back. Maybe his headphones can hear me.
Okay, I can hear you now. We're good.
You can hear me?
Can you hear and see me? I'm frozen on my screen, but I want to make sure you can hear and see me.
I could hear you. It's taking a second. Now there's a black screen to my side. I don't.
Okay. Well, let me try this.
We'll get you eventually. I can't hear you now, and I can't see you. We're gonna figure this thing out. All I can see is a black screen. Is it on my side? Can people see? Hang on. Okay, he read. Let's see if this works. Third time's the charm. Come on.
Okay.
Third time's the charm.
Can you see me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you can't see me though. Jeez,
no.
This is crazy.
What
okay.
the heck?
I'll try one more thing and then we'll just go with my voice. But let me try. Hang on.
Okay. Is it the streaming software? I'm okay. So I'm just making sure that I'm not the only one. So if people are saying, yeah, black screen, incognito mode, you hear his voice. IBH, you're good. Well, thank you. I figured mine was okay, but I'm still waiting to see if we can get Thomas. Yes, Corey, we are rookies. We're I don't know. I don't know what's going on. In the meantime, Alex, the member for 2 months, Ringo gave up 2 deep balls, and people saying, told you so. Yes, there's a little bit of an overreaction there. I mean, he did give up 2 deep balls, but according to the reports, I mean, he was in decent position. Now, yes, he gave up the play, so it's still ultimately his mistake. But, you know, Anthony's here says it can't possibly be my fault this time. Inside, I'm feeling like my 1-year-old, who you can probably hear in the background crying. Come on, here we go.
We should be fixed.
There
we're
we
fixed.
Go. Yes,
we're good.
Fixed.
We're back.
Can see
okay.
you.
Either way, let's just right back into it. You're talking about Jordan Davis. He is thinner, and I'm pretty sure that you said that, right? He definitely has lost at least 15 to 20 pounds. I talked about it on my show earlier today. I don't know if you mentioned it here, but stop me if you did. He was 350 at this time last year. Late May, he weighed in at 350 pounds heading into training camp, and it was like, okay, that's, I guess, what Jordan Davis should be. Now he's like 320, 336? Was it 335? He's definitely lost weight. And now the question becomes, Josh, is this simple? Is a thinner Jordan Davis, does it contribute to him being a better overall player? Does he get after the quarterback faster? Is he able to still clog the hole and stop the runs? It's all TBD, but I saw a tweet today saying that they didn't re-sign Milton Williams, who got like $100 million for the Patriots, and they might have still upgraded because a thinner Jordan Davis, you never know what his potential could be like here. Really, in what's kind of a make-or-break season for him.
Yeah, it really is, and you're right. I'm hyped for him, and I believe we're getting a little bit of a blurry version for you. I can hear you well. I can still see you, but it's very blurry, by the way. So
okay, well,
as we're continuing to work through this,
it's got to be my new thing that I've been trying, so I can unplug it real quick. But I let's see if it.
Okay, maybe we get a little better status here in a second, hopefully. But well, maybe it's frozen now. Yep. We'll get this figured out. I agree with what Thomas was saying, though. Anthony, yes, it's officially best shape of my life season. That it is. Yep. It's maybe the overreaction to a little bit of pictures and posts, but okay.
I should be good now, aren't I?
Got it.
Yep.
All right. Yes.
Okay.
I can see you.
We're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was agreeing with
Goodness
you.
gracious.
But I was telling people, this is why we also have training camp. This is our training camp.
I guess.
But yes, I think that there's a good potential. I mean, there's a reason they extended JD. Try to see, hey, maybe there's something beyond this. Obviously, the morale, the chemistry, everything else with the Philly Dogs. But 336, the dude can move. He's athletic. He can make some plays.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all for it. I mean, I'm curious of what type of snap count that we're going to see from him there. But you also have Ty Robinson that people kind of forget. I hadn't really heard much of anything from first day, so we'll see how that goes beyond. But overall, like JD was playing 10, 15 snaps, during in the playoffs anyways, kind of averaging like 15 snaps a game. So maybe it's that more Ojomo. I know that we're all expecting big things there. He was getting some snaps in with the first team and the reps on that side. Obviously, Jalen Carter being injured plays somewhat of a factor. We don't know exact percentages there, but there's a lot to like in this group. And I really think you look at the interior of the defensive line, they added some guys for some depth. I don't know that you're going to be some difference makers there, but they still added some guys. And you look at the edge rushers, there's honestly just not a reason to think that they can't be better in terms of a defensive line this year than they were last year. And some people may think that's crazy because you're going, well, but they lost Josh Sweat, they lost Brandon Graham, they lost Milton Williams. There's a lot of names and a lot of production there, but so far, early inklings of what we see, what we hear, offensive linemen talking about these guys, it's hard not to get excited. I'll just tell you that. It's hard not to get excited about all those guys, including my guy Nolen, Jalen Hunt. Let's go.
That's exactly where I was going to go. I mean, Jordan Mailata essentially spilled the beans and said, yeah, we lost Josh Sweat, but they replaced him with Jalen Hunt. And Jordan Mailata, he gives people praise. He's not someone who holds back praise from players because he's a very nice person overall. He gave a really, really, really strong endorsement of Jalen Hunt today. And then Nolan Smith, I'm sure you saw on WIP, he was asked how many sacks, 12 maybe, and Nolan Smith said, that's going to be a little light. Now, if Nolan Smith gets more than 12 sacks this year, Josh, the Eagle defense is going to barely give up any points. Let's just say that. It'd be pretty crazy. I think 10 would be a great number for Nolan Smith. 8 would be a great number for Jalen Hunt. If they're both 10 to 12 to 15, then the rest of the league has problems. But the
I might
defensive line is
pass
going
out
to
on
be
one of
just
our
fine.
live streams.
That is one of the main areas where we don't even have to worry, I feel like, which is crazy because your two biggest offseason losses were on the defensive line, and yet they should be just fine. What I've seen a lot of people freaking out about today, especially, based on what we're hearing from practice, is Kelee Ringo got beat twice today, Josh. AKA the sky is falling and everything is ruined. I couldn't believe the amount of tweets I saw that Kelee Ringo was washed because A.J. Brown beat him one-on-one, and it wasn't like he pulled away from Kelee Ringo. They were neck and neck, and A.J. Brown just made a good catch. And then Terrence Marshall Jr., who we'll talked about on my show earlier this afternoon. Sure, we'll get to him in a second. He beat him once in a 7-on-7 rep. That's a key little nugget there. But people are freaking out about Kelee Ringo, and yet he got literally all of the first-team starter reps except for like 1 or 2 series where they put Adoree Jackson in there at the end.
Yes, but, it's you got to have something to talk about, and there is some criticism because, yes, technically he got beat. But I've made the same case before. I've got a show coming out later tonight talking about it a little bit more so. But we also got to remember, and here's the thing. I think the vast majority understand this. But everybody can be, living the day-to-day, week-to-week status of what's going on. What have you done for me lately? What are you not doing for me lately? And ultimately, training camp is about making mistakes. Like, sure, we would love to. Oh, Jalen Hurts is throwing 14 for 15 today. Okay, that was fine, but like if we're getting no turnovers, then somebody's going to complain about the defense. Why is the defense not getting turnovers? If Jalen is turning the football over, then it's going to be, what's Jalen doing? Has he lost it? Is this going to be in the regular season? So it's a give or take. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And so I would just say it's like it's fine. It's okay right now. Yes, if we get into joint practices and then we parlay that into the preseason and we're like, dude, he's getting torched. Like this is a consistent theme. Then okay, like we've got some other alternative solutions to maybe look into of like maybe we need to add somebody. Is it Adoree Jackson to run with? But early on, let's also just preface it. I mean, we said this with back before training camp started. Nakobe Dean is I think the best case in point that you could make for a player who had a poor training camp early on last year and going, I don't know, this dude's going to be able to make it, let alone start, but like, if this dude's going to be able to make it. And then he just takes it by storm. He starts at Brazil, he got the job there and then just took it and ran with it. I love the fact that he made the play in Jacksonville and he was asked afterwards, right, to save the game winner with the interception. And what did he credit? He says, all the way back to training camp, I got beat on that play multiple times, Jalen and Kenny Gainwell, and he goes to Jalen to ask, what do you see so that I can plan for this? And 9 weeks into the season, it's whenever it pays off. So again, we just temper it to say, did he get beat on a back shoulder throw to AJ? Sure. How many cornerbacks get beat by AJ Brown one-on-one? He's the best in the NFL. So yeah, I'm not concerned yet. There's no reason to freak out or panic. I'm not saying he's going to be Quinyon Mitchell. I'm not going to say he's locked down yet or anything like that either. But yeah, there's kind of like a happy medium I feel like we should be maybe living in. I don't know.
It is just funny, right? That's just how training camp works. You make a great point, though, right? Jalen Hurts didn't throw an interception. He threw one incompletion, and yet we're complaining about the fact that the defense wasn't able to, get to him. And, of course, would you rather have Jalen Hurts be elite or Kelee Ringo be elite? I think the simple answer to that is Jalen Hurts. Although even with Kelee Ringo, if he's not elite this year, Josh, he has to be serviceable. Philadelphia has won a lot of games in their past with a serviceable cornerback on both sides. And we expect Quinyon Mitchell to be obviously way higher than that. But you could have an elite Quinyon Mitchell and 15th best corner in the National Football League in Kelee Ringo and still win a ton of games. Now, I think he's going to be a lot better than that. I'm not really worried about, Kelee Ringo after one practice. But obviously, we'll keep an eye on it because if you were to see Adoree Jackson slowly get more and more reps, then we'd have a real story here at cornerback, but not really a legit story, I would say, just yet.
Right. But, somebody's got to talk about something. Shout out to Fanny with a 2. Appreciate that. Says, Josh, you always go live whenever I'm doing homework. Oh, no. Well, you always do homework whenever I'm going live. So
yeah,
just do homework. We appreciate the support, Fanny. Hopefully we don't distract you too much, but you're always here on the live, so very much appreciated. Maxwell with 10 Philly Special Show memberships. Congrats to all the individuals there. Speaking of tickets earlier, but members get access to the ticket giveaways during the season, and planning on hopefully, pending a sponsor, we'll see, going to try to increase that amount from last year, but access to the giveaways on that side. Maxwell with a 2 saying Fly Eagles Fly. There we go. Also, two from InFlight 215 saying Howie should sign Noah Fant. That has been the talk the last couple of days. You talked about that in a recent video as well.
Well, I would regret to inform people that Noah Fant was meeting with the Bengals today, and so he is not in Philadelphia, which is not a good sign there. But I did do a show on Monday, which a lot of people seem to enjoy, as they also agree that Noah Fant makes a ton of sense, and he does. Noah Fant, and I think Andy DeBona mentioned this as well. He would be the perfect number 2 tight end option right now in Philadelphia because he's never lived up to where he was drafted, whether in Denver or Seattle. But he still is probably the second best tight end on the Eagles roster if he were to be signed right now. Now, we didn't hear anything about the tight ends today because, no pads, not a lot of, Jalen only threw the ball 15 times. But besides Goddard, it's like, who do you have? Is Grant Calcaterra your future at tight end? Because there's a scenario, Josh, where Philadelphia finishes this season and Goddard has kind of a Goddard year up and down. He hasn't played 17 games his entire career. Maybe he misses 4 or 5. Hopefully he doesn't, but let's just say he pulls a Goddard and does what Dallas Goedert does. They won't re-sign him over the age of 30 unless he wants a super cheap contract, which I don't think he will. He's going to want to get paid somewhere else. And then you're sitting without a tight end on the roster. There's nobody signed through 2026. And so they go draft somebody, spend a high draft pick, a late, 29th, 30th, 32nd draft pick. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that getting a guy like Fant would make some sense just to bring in a fresh body. However, he's visiting with the Bengals. And so he would have to not sign with the Bengals and then go somewhere else. Maybe Cincinnati has money tied up elsewhere or is about to because they have all sorts of money problems right now and player problems. But I would call Fant, but is Howie Roseman going to call Noah Fant? Doesn't seem to be the case at the moment.
It does not. It's just, it is the good side of having a great front office and general manager and everything else, though, when you look at around the league, Cincinnati, as you're discussing. But Dallas with the whole contract situation, the Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones comments, the Commanders, Terry McLaurin. But we won't fully go in there. Every time I think about that, I'm like, take care of business versus a very unserious organization in front office that irritates its players, and that has a bit of an effect, I believe. So
yeah,
kudos to Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, doing it the right way. It helps from a financial sense and a salary cap, but it also really helps. I mean, think about the chemistry, the morale, the vibes, the talk, the belief, all these other descriptors of this team now coming into camp, and you hear them just on day one, and I'm like, man, it is very different. And yes, you win a Super Bowl, it's different, but it is very different. You could hear them last year of wanting to buy into that and wanting to believe it. But it's not until you actually accomplish the mission and accomplish the first one, I should say. Like Jalen's probably saying, you're not even close to the final destination, but you get the first job done, and now you hear it from all of them. They're just hungry for it. It's not like they've arrived. It's we know what it takes to get there, and we want to repeat it. So, and that starts from the ground floor all the way up to front office, and they don't get enough praise, I think, sometimes, especially you look around the league. But kudos to them. It's big time. Deontay Francis with the 10, let's go, the 10 bomb, says, there you go. Says, let's go, Hurts is him. Say this now. It's about to be better than last year. Just watch. So happy football is back.
I feel like the majority of Eagle fans agree. I think most of us would say it's going to be better than last year. I know that's, easy to say right now, and it could be harder to say week 2 when you play the Kansas City Chiefs coming off a difficult week 1 game if they were to struggle against the Cowboys. Things can change here, but I think they are going to be better, and I really think Jalen Hurts is going to be a lot better. His press conference today, and I played a lot of it during my show, very Jalen in terms of his answers. Hilarious when asked about the ring and said, basically didn't answer that he's worn it. I don't think he has, by the way. I truly think he doesn't care. Or it's just part of the Nick Saban mentality of like, get that rat poison away from me and let's focus on the season, whatever it was. But I do think he hears the noise. And he was asked a question by, I think it was ESP, and he immediately shut it down as he should. But he does, have a cell phone. He does have teammates and friends and a wife and people that are probably saying, you see what Cam Newton said about you today? Because Cam had another rant today, by the way, which is ridiculous. But I think he's going to be on a whole new mission. And the fact that he made it to the mountaintop and yet probably got more disrespected this offseason than he did last offseason, like where he had come off a season where final 5 games of the year, he wasn't playing that well. I think it's some extra motivation there, and he's going to be on a whole new level. But, Jalen is great, and a team can win whether Jalen throws for 300 or runs for 300. This team is built to be successful, and I think Jalen's going to really showcase why he deserves to be a top 5 quarterback, and maybe even in the MVP race like he was a couple years back.
And I appreciate his answer of being like, I'm focused. I'm not, I'm
course.
just focused on winning. But we still know that he even said back during the Super Bowl, whenever John Clark asked him, he's like, do you get extra motivation? Your teammates say that they like it whenever you kind of hear that noise and you want to prove it to somebody. And he's like, it's no secret. So, I mean, I hear him, and that's cool. Like, maybe put the blinders on right now, but it's not 100% of the time. Like, he does hear it occasionally, and he absolutely lives for those moments. So, again, Jordan being one of his biggest mentors, you don't have to know much about Michael Jordan to know that was absolutely a fuel to him, to actually just be motivated more, or even make up things almost, to be like, oh, okay, I took that personally. Like, okay, great. So yeah, there's a little bit of element of that. And I'm all for it. It irritates me by the way they talk about Jalen, but at the same time, as you're just talking about there and alluded to, it just makes him better. It makes this team better because they go, fine, you want to doubt us? All right, well, we'll just prove it again. Anthony with the 2, appreciate that, says y'all acting like QB's going to have, acting like QB's going to have time to go deep, LOL.
Against the Eagle defensive line, probably not. Probably not.
It should be fine. I mean, there'll be occasional, right? Like every team has it. So yes, sure. You got to have some consistency within the secondary, but I think it'll be all fine. I think it'll be fine. Roy with a 10 bomb says, great show, guys. Go Birds. Appreciate that, Roy.
Go Birds.
And the 10.
Thank you.
Tanner Plummer with a 2. What's up, Tanner? Says, did you guys hear anything about Avery Williams?
0.
I mean, like, he's healthy. He was there. He was not, interestingly enough, he was not doing returns. That was shocking to me. You would assume that a return specialist I should say this. Hold on. They was initially listed, right? Like wide receiver / return specialist. However, today it was Cooper DeJean, Anaya Smith, Taylor Morin, Jahan Dotson, and I think there was one other person, and not Avery Williams. So nothing on the injury designation. Now he was on coverage. But that's not return specialist. That's something entirely different. So I don't know. First day of camp, probably an overreaction, but like Tanner, and we appreciate the super chat here, it is worth noting and it's worth mentioning there because Sirianni, he talked about him a number of times. Thomas, you did, I don't know, 2 months ago, a video on it whenever he was talking about him, but Swiss Army knife, the weapon that he could be in the offense. Is it more so that he's like saving him to maybe use in the offense more so? They don't want to have the possibility of getting him injured in the return game. I can't envision that. I'm just thinking maybe it's just an early, hey, we got these guys out here, we'll figure it out. Eventually he'll get his reps and they'll be good to go. But it is, at least like we say, noteworthy because he wasn't out there.
Yeah, well, the one thing about training camp, though, especially because we can't watch 11 on 11s, or I guess we should say we can't film 11 on 11s, you're basically going by word of mouth. And so in order to make it to where the broader public knows you had a good day, you have to make some multiple plays in a row, or at least one big impact play. And Avery Williams didn't do that today, at least in the pass-catching game, so, no one really knows. But he was out there. Obviously, he was with the wide receivers, and they're going to hopefully try and move him around if they're going to actually use him like the weapon. Mitch mentioned it. Nick Sirianni said this offseason. But, again, you didn't hear from a lot. Jahan Dotson, we heard nothing from Jahan Dotson today. Jahan Dotson, we know. We had a great interview with him last week. We know he's going to have a fantastic season. You actually heard nothing of Devontae Smith, too, just to show you that just because you didn't hear anything on this specific day doesn't mean they aren't doing something or they will, not do something going forward. So it's all with a massive grain of salt. The people that you and I talk about on our shows and that everyone talks about on all the other shows are the things that really stand out at these practices because A, there are going to be so many of them, and B, because the Eagles are one of a handful of teams that do not let or allow any sort of recording of 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. And so you can't kind of break things down and go crazy, which I think leads well into Terrence Marshall Jr., Josh, who talk about making some flash plays. He beat Kelee Ringo on a 7-on-7. Great pass from Tanner McKee, who had a nice day by reports. Also had a couple of other decent catches throughout the overall course of the day. He was with the 2s and the 3s. He's moving around. The big thing, though, with Terrence Marshall, though, Josh, is A.J. Brown singled him out during his press conference and basically said he's going to make that wide receiver room very uncomfortable, which when you dive into the actual analytics, there's only 2 wide receiver spots because 3 are basically guaranteed, and they normally keep 5, right? And so if you're Johnny Wilson, if you're Anais Smith, Avery Williams, if they want to designate him as a wide receiver, the 6 other receivers they have currently on this roster, according to A.J. Brown, Terrace Marshall Jr. is a guy who's going to make it very, very difficult for you to make the roster because he might be trying to lock up one of those final 2 spots.
And that's the second. I mean, it's great to hear from AJ. It's the second compared to Devontae Smith saying something about him back at minicamp.
Yep.
So the numbers are stacking up. Jalen even mentioned Terrace. He said he's been making some plays for us. This again was back at minicamp. But I mean, if you want to impress people, like we love Nick Sirianni. Supporting Nick Sirianni, he's gonna list the whole roster. So it doesn't mean as much coming from Nick as it does from an AJ Brown, from a Devontae Smith, especially Jalen Hurts, because he will not go out of his way to give extra praise. So for him to be able to get noticed like that, absolutely, it is 100% noteworthy because you have your top 3 guys, and then it's a question: who's 4 and beyond? How many receivers make this roster, and who is going to lock up the 4th and maybe 5th spot if they keep 5? I can't imagine they're going to keep 6. I think at most it'll be 5. And there's going to be some very interesting cuts, very interesting decisions. We'll just say that.
Well,
as you make it
James ain't. I was going to say James Angelis, I believe is how you say his last name. And I just bought a Johnny Wilson gold/10. I think he means a jersey. He better get a spot, bro. Ooh. Johnny Wilson. I mean, Terrace Marshall's not as thick, right? If you want to keep Johnny Wilson as a pure run blocker, which, do you want a roster spot simply for that? Maybe they do. I don't know. But Marshall is very different in terms of his build to, say, an Anais Smith, right? So Johnny Wilson's spot could be the one that eventually gets axed. I don't think they will because they spent a 5th-round draft pick on Johnny Wilson. But at the same time, I mean, these are the conversations that we'll start to have as the weeks and months go on. And I do think, Josh, as good as you can be in practice the next couple of weeks, you got to show out in the preseason games if you're one of these wide receivers trying to make this roster.
Oh, for sure.
There's going to be no excuse that you had a bad quarterback because Tanner McKee is going to be slinging it for 2 or 3 quarters, and we know Tanner McKee can sling it. So I don't care how good of a day 1, day 4, day 12 practice you have, go catch a touchdown in preseason. Go catch more than 2 balls during the preseason, and you're probably going to make this roster.
Yeah, there's no no offense to these guys. It's not a Marcus Mariota or an Ian Book throwing to you as terrible as those were before. Tanner's going to give you some opportunities, so I'm looking forward to that for sure. But yeah, it's interesting. Hopefully for James' case, yeah, I don't know. It's getting more difficult. We'll just say that. Johnny Wilson, he's a unicorn, the size and all, but I don't know.
I love him.
There's some elements there where he would not be out of the question, I think, at this point. So he's got to start making some plays. They do love the blocking game, so I think that'll be a big factor as you're talking about there, Thomas, with the preseason. If you show the blocking game, maybe make a catch or 2, just justify enough that you're like, okay, you know what, we could use him. It's going to be worth it. Clouder of 3 with a 5. Appreciate that. Says this team will not have a slow start this year. Just stay away from the injury bug. I mean, you could say that every single season, but I believe that. I think I was having this conversation the other day in the members call, and we were in conversation of just like, again, what's going to stop the Eagles? What is he, record predictions, all the other stuff there. More than maybe any other year to me, I think that's what it comes down to. If this unit stays healthy, and I know it's a big if, and I know that there's people out there saying, well, based on the numbers and the analytics and everything else, the Eagles got lucky, right? In quotes, lucky, because I don't know what that is necessarily with the injury, but like percentage-wise, they got lucky, they were fortunate, whatever last year comparatively. But if they can have a similar type of health and have, I believe it was 21 of 22 starters, I think, playing in the Super Bowl, so I just don't know of a team that can hang with them. Yes, they'll have some losses. No one's saying they're going to go undefeated. But I just overall, especially when it gets to crunch time, there just can't be another team around the league that can hang with. That's what I truly believe. So I'm with Clouder in the terms of, yes, stay away from the injury bug.
Yep, I agree.
Let's see. We got Anthony also with 2 more, I believe. Appreciate that. Said a 51-year-old Von Miller is going to be a problem with the laughing emojis. Fly Eagles fly.
Not in that jersey. 24 for an edge rusher is not a good number, Josh. I knew he was cooked the second they announced it was going to be 24. Not a good one. Not a good one. Nope.
don't know what you're. I
I'm
don't know
out.
what you're doing with the number 24. You know, people are like, "Oh, you're bashing Von Miller and everything." It's like, well,
Ah,
look, he'll probably make some plays. He's still decent, but to the extent of like, maybe not all the majority, but there are some out there. They're like, "Oh my gosh, our pass rush is going to be phenomenal." Von Miller is not the missing ingredient. He's not the guy that's going out there and playing 90% of snaps. He's not going out there and playing 70, 65% of snaps. He'll go out there and play rotational pass rush, and maybe he'll give you some things occasionally, but he doesn't drastically improve that pass rush or even the run defense and say, well, maybe now we have the answers there fixed. I don't know. There's Commanders fans still want to throw that out there. They're getting even older, as if that was hard enough to believe already, being the oldest NFL team. But, you add the 36-year-old or whatnot, and we'll see. Good luck to him. Not really, but
by the
I'm
way,
not scared.
Okoronkwo, the newest edge rusher that you talked about with Anthony DeBona yesterday, I talked about on my show today. He has more sacks by 1.5 than Von Miller has in the past 2 seasons. So just kind of comparing these things. He technically has more sacks than Josh Uche does the past 4 seasons. Like, we talk about finding that 4th pass rusher, that 3rd pass rusher, whatever you want to call it. Okoronkwo has better stats than Uche. He's up there with Ojulari, much better than Von Miller. So he's somebody to keep an eye on for sure. Again, just a 1, but keep an eye on him.
But true. It's going to be a good battle there. I mean, certainly for backup pass rushers and
seeing
how they could play out. I think it also comes down to special teams. So again, we go back to preseason.
That's true.
Like this is the almost the list of, I constantly go through training camp and be like, okay, what am I watching for? Safety, positional bet for sure. Like, what's going on at safety? What's going on with Kelee Ringo? Right guard, you don't even really mention. Like, yes, it's Tyler Steen.
It's not really a battle.
Only, I think Zach Berman made this first comment that I saw. It's only news if Tyler Steen is not getting the reps at first team.
Right.
So maybe you keep an eye on that, but not really. And then the wide receiver battle that we mentioned. So it kind of falls in line with that. Edge rusher, who makes the plays on special teams, I think will very much vault themselves. And maybe that's a Patrick Johnson helping him out because he has made plays before and he's familiar with the Eagles. But we'll see. It's definitely a battle worth watching. Fake Man Bear Pig with a 2. I think I remember that name. It's always the interesting
I think
one
so
to
too.
Go Birds. Keep up the great content, boys. We appreciate that.
There you go.
Thank you. Fake Man Bear Pig.
We're trying.
Deontay Francis with a 10 bomb. There we go.
Hey.
Let's see, bro. Let's go, bro. Just because you got my name right. Great job. Most people butchered it. Go Birds back to back.
Didn't look that hard.
Come
it's
on.
spelled Deontay Francis, right?
I'll take the win.
Do people say Deonta? Is that how they mess it up? It's spelled like Deontay,
I mean,
right?
that's what it seemed easy enough to me, but there we go.
We figured it out.
Getting the wins. Aisha with a 5. Appreciate that. How did rookies do in training camp? We've talked about a couple, but is Jihaad Nakobe's replacement? We did not there. And then says, because other linebacker will be Bond, feel like defense is still great and Hurts should be himself. Go Birds.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about Jihaad Campbell right now. We talk about rookies. So Jihaad Campbell looks fantastic. And I think you and I have been saying this for the past couple of weeks because obviously we're out there in the sphere of people that talk about the Eagles a lot. And we both were feeling very confident that Jihaad Campbell was going to be a lot healthier than the August timeframe that Vic Fangio had said, let's slip in his press conference a couple of weeks ago, right? We passed Jihaad Campbell at the Eagles Novacare Complex when we were there a couple of weeks ago, looked very healthy. And everything that the reports were saying is that he's probably ahead of schedule. Drop some workout videos. You can glean how the knee and the shoulders look. And I kind of said, I think he's going to be pretty much good to go day 1 of training camp a month ago. And pretty much we're right. Now, he was listed as limited, which means, I don't know what it means. Honestly, like, who knows what limited means? He was a full participant in practice today.
I was going to say, it didn't appear that he was limited.
It didn't seem like he had any problems, is what I was trying to get at there. We need to see him strike. Same with Nolan Smith. Let's see you strike. Let's see you put pads on. Let's see you tackle. That would be an interesting part there for Jihaad Campbell. But he looks the part of what a top 15 draft pick was supposed to look like, and he would have been a top 15 draft pick had he not had, the knee issue, the shoulder issue. But Philadelphia took a gamble. They assured us since day 1 since the day after the NFL draft, he was going to be fine. And it looks like, Josh, he's going to be more than fine. And he has a very real chance to win that starting linebacker job. because I know Nakobe's on the PUP list. He can come back at any time.
Mm-hmm.
You and I spoke to Nakobe. He thinks he's going to be ready for week 1. There's a scenario where Campbell's your starter week 1, and then Dean gets worked back in slowly. Kind of what they did with, I mean, different scenario, but Cooper DeJean last year where he was injured in training camp. They slowly work him back out there, proved he was ready, then gave him more. I see something similar with Dean, and if that's the case, then it's Campbell versus Jeremiah Trotter Jr. right now. And Trotter got the start, but I think Campbell was the highlight overall in the linebacker group today.
Yeah, that was definitely, I mean, everyone wants to see the first-round pick at all times, but the fact that we didn't get to see too much from minicamp, it was just extra excitement, I think, to be able to, get some extra reps out there. I would say, as far as just his ability to, and going back to Aisha's comment of, how did the rookies do, and just thoughts and takeaways there. So, couple things that I took away from, I can't remember because all the reporters are doing it. So shout out to all of them. Try to give credit and everything else in the video.
They all do a great job. We appreciate them.
Yes. But Jihaad Campbell had a pass breakup on Danny Gray. So Tanner McKee was the quarterback, but had a breakup there. That's just good in itself, the fact that he's in coverage and has a pass breakup. So we'll take that. And then also blitzed Jalen on a play and impacted the throw. So 2 plays, that's really almost all that I could get from any sort of diving through, the plays and analysis and everything else. But the fact that he was at least noteworthy enough for 2 plays to pop up there, and I think it shows you his versatility because you're like, okay, so he made a play in coverage, he made a play blitzing, and we know that he can rush the passer. And then the other element, which, it'll take a while before we even see, but in the run game, is he's making stops as a linebacker on that side. But overall, athletically, you're seeing him make the moves. I mean, I think it's well above anyone's expectations, as you were talking about there, just with the initial timelines that we were told when he was drafted, and then even as we got into minicamp. So positive signs all around. I cannot wait. That's another battle that we just throw out there is like, yes, linebacker, what happens? Is it Jeremiah Trotter Jr.? Is it going to be Jihaad Campbell? Trotter, it'll probably be his job to lose, just being the contingent player that's already been on the roster. But as we've seen and as we know, it's a short leash with Fangio. It doesn't take much before he'll be like, if he likes what he sees from his first-round pick, he could very quickly be like, all right, cool, we're good. Let's move you in there. You're going to be starting. So
well, and at the same time, when it comes to Vic Fangio, we know that Vic Fangio gets players on the field if he knows that they can play, even if technically there isn't a position for them. And again, Cooper DeJean is kind of the blueprint here. Cooper DeJean barely was getting any playing time, proved that he could play, and they start mixing him in here and there, this nickel package, this dime package, and then eventually he was all the way in. That could also be a scenario for Jihaad Campbell, where Trotter Jr. is the actual inside linebacker. He's the Mike. He's calling the plays night 1, and then Campbell's mixed in a different base defense look, comes in as an edge rusher at sometimes. Maybe he's the solo, defender in a quarters coverage, or I guess be multiple in a quarters coverage, either way. But a scenario where you could get his, butt onto the football field and have him playing is something Vic Fangio will definitely do if he deserves it.
Yes, and we appreciate that because Vic's he's no nonsense, and he doesn't care what you make, doesn't care what you're getting paid, where you're drafted, anything. If you're good enough, you're going to get on the field. Shout out to Anthony DeBona, the man himself here, is commenting back on Okoronkwo, saying played 105 special team snaps in Cleveland. So going back to if they make plays on special teams to help themselves, 105 last season, so can definitely contribute there, which is important as he battles for the depth spot. So just again, it's do they have that versatility? Can they make plays? It was interesting because KJ Henry was the player, or one of the players, that was released in order to make that roster move. So Okoronkwo was in Cleveland. He comes to Philly. Philly releases KJ Henry, and Cleveland claims KJ Henry.
That's how it works.
It seems like it's now again. We wish 00 the best, but it seems like at the moment, if I had to predict, that he probably is still not going to make the roster. Maybe he does. But it will be interesting because, you're like, well, okay, KJ Henry was obviously not good enough. And so how he felt like to move on. And we'll see. Was it Cleveland's good move there to decide not to and then claim a Philly player? Maybe not.
It's almost like the Browns GM has some sort of weird twin-like connection to the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know what it is. I'm sure they don't talk. I'm sure I'm sure it's nothing, but there's got to be something there. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
No sort of connection. Yes. I don't know. It's random. Tanner with a 10. We will have joint practice too. So again, there's lots of connections. But for people,
That's a good point too.
Tanner with a 10. Only thing I'll say about criticism for Jalen is this: ever since Jalen won the Super Bowl, all of a sudden winning a Super Bowl isn't a big accomplishment anymore in the eyes of a lot of people. So dumb.
I know. It's the craziest thing because this whole conversation of where you rank Jalen Hurts made sense after last season. And while Eagle fans rated him a lot higher than other people, there still was an argument of, well, he had a rough final 5 games. Is he going to ever get back to 2022? Sure. It was annoying, but you could do it. This year, you can't do it. And the best litmus test to know that you cannot talk anything about Jalen Hurts right now is the fact that Nick Wright, my former boss and known Eagle hater, and I mean, this guy hates the Eagles.
Yeah.
He is giving Jalen Hurts all the respect that he possibly could. He had him, I think, 6 on his quarterback rankings. That's ahead of Jaden Daniels. Not a lot of people have that. That's ahead of, obviously, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott. That's only behind the big 4, Burrow and obviously, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and then Stafford and then Hurts. That's how you know that you cannot talk anything bad about Jalen Hurts right now when notorious Eagle hater Nick Wright has him high and up. That's a good indication that Cam Newton or whatever is getting a little crazy here.
Yeah, but they say it again. It just always goes back to the clicks and views and people riled up because if they say it, then there's controversy and it happens. Adam here saying, is Josh breaking out the stash for this season?
I was going to ask that too. The win streak stash. You had it for many weeks last year.
It came out unintentionally, and it was actually good timing because we were into the bye week, and then it was a Halloween costume thing for people that don't remember or don't recall, and then it just stuck because we needed something to get the win streak going, right? And then it's just fun to be a part of. I don't think that I can just come right out and start it, right? Like this is the whole rally cap.
Not yet.
Whatever.
Right.
But
Not
yes,
yet.
if we need to do something.
It's a tool for the tool belt.
Maybe it's We'll just keep it there.
I like that.
Sandy, my wife we'll have to
Well,
we'll
it
have
helps
to
feed her family, so
exactly.
She can get over it.
There's an element. There's a sacrifice there. I'm not saying no. How about that, Adam?
There you go.
We're willing to do whatever we can to get a win streak going. Coastline AM with a 5 says, I'm excited to see Ben VanSumeren because if the tush push gets banned in the near future, they have a reason to bring back the fullback.
Ben VanSumeren got a carry today, Josh, as a running back. It was not a fullback dive. He got an actual running back carry. It was one, and I think it's with the third teamers, but Ben VanSumeren is going to be an actual offensive player this year. It's not kind of a weird hybrid, whatever. He is the fullback of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I think they're going to use him a lot more. And you've done a couple of good breakdowns over the the long off season as to why he's considered a weapon, especially in this offense, especially leading the charge for Saquon Barkley. Saquon's talked about Ben VanSumeren. I think BVS is going to be more of a household name than people realize. A, because there are so few fullbacks left that most of the league knows when a fullback is in the football game, and really B, because the Eagles are going to showcase him a lot to us fans, and I think especially during the preseason to get him those reps that he kind of missed out on whenever he tore his ACL and was done for the rest of the season. So, he got a carry today, and that's definitely noteworthy.
I was just going to say, I'm telling you now, this kind of blows people's minds because they just don't remember it. A crazy athletic. If Ben VanSumeren, now this is just going off 40-yard dash time, so it's like we don't know for sure. If there was a race to be had, maybe not. But just based on 40 times, Ben VanSumeren would be winning that race. Like if he's blocking for Saquon and running ahead, you got your fullback who would be outrunning Saquon Barkley. Like he ran a 4.4 at his pro day. He's got I think a 43-inch vertical. The dude tested off the charts.
He's
and
pretty
you got
crazy.
that as a fullback now. So yes, I'm absolutely hyped to see where he goes, how he's utilized, and being healthy now coming off the season and a full off season, right? Because we could say that for a number of guys. John Dotson mentioned
that's a really good
not
point.
Getting a training camp, not getting a full offseason with Philly, how much the big difference is there. Ben VanSumeren was here, but he was not a fullback. He was not in the game plan. It was, okay, Ben, you're a linebacker, and then in the middle point of the season, basically, it's like, well, hey, maybe we should try this. Let's see if it works. Now you go into it and say, we do have a fullback, and we would like to utilize the fullback more, so let's practice this now over the full offseason training camp. And that's where I'm like, man, there's just a lot of creativity, a lot of components that you could add with that type of athleticism for your fullback. So we'll see. It reminded me of what was the guy? It reminded me actually of the Broncos days. A blast from the past of like Clinton Portis, and was it Mike Anderson? Because didn't they have like both guys run for over 1,000 yards? If that,
Yeah, but
that's
Mike
what it
Anderson
came to.
wasn't a fullback, right?
Right.
He was
But
a running
he was
back.
like a hybrid, like because they would
He was
kind of
massive.
put him in the fullback position
was a
at
big
times.
boy.
But that
Yes.
was the thing is if you were, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but if you were playing Madden, that's what you would do. You would put Mike
Yes.
Anderson as the fullback because you would have
Yes.
the versatility. So that's what I'm hopeful for. I'm not saying at all that Ben VanSumeren is running for 1,000 yards. So please, people hear me. But I'm just like the occasional sneaking on the defense because they're like,
Sure.
whoa, wait a second. I
Sure.
didn't realize that the fullback is running 4-4. So if we could have that, I'm just saying. It would
That
be,
is my
kinda
one
nice.
thing, and I think you just mentioned kind of sneaking things behind defenses. That's my one thing I'm excited about with Kevin Patullo. And obviously, A.J. Brown has been, for me, the biggest kind of cheerleader for Kevin Patullo all off season long. He's been the guy leading the charge saying, it's not going to change. Everything's going to be the same. We're not going to take a step back. He's been here a long time. But now you're starting to hear these little wrinkles, and A.J. talked about it today. Jalen talked about it very briefly today, and Jalen knows from last year, if he gives you a percentage on how different the offense is, the entire Eagle world is going to go nuts, and it's going to be this whole massive story for 6 weeks. And so he was very smart today. But I think Patullo is going to take exactly what we saw last year. Copy, paste. Nothing changes. But then mix in a couple of things. And my wife and I have been watching Quarterback on Netflix. So you see a lot of Ben Johnson. And I'm not saying he's going to have Ben Johnson type craziness because the Lions are having halfback passes and they're throwing to, edge rushers and all sorts of crazy stuff right there. I just think there's going to be a little bit more uniqueness than what it was last season. And last season, they won a Super Bowl. So do with that as you will. We're going to know more as training camp goes on. They're not going to reveal all the crazy stuff, but I think we're going to get a good feel for what the offense looks like. Because last year, motion became a real thing in training camp. It had not been the case with the year before with Brian Johnson. So just, TBD on all of that. TBD. I'm excited.
I am too. There's a lot to like here. Adam, I like this. Adam says, I was today years old when I learned that VanSumeren runs a 4-4. Learn something new every day.
The more you know.
Yes.
It's pretty crazy to think because he's not small. He's not small and fast.
Crazy. Eagle 20 with the 2. Appreciate that. Actually, hang on 1 second. Sorry, Eagle 20. I'm going out of order. Marcus with the 2. Got you first. Who do you predict starts opposite of Q? I think we were talking about this a second.
We've talked about that.
Kelee
Ringo. It's going to be Ringo unless crazy things happen, and we'll know if crazy things happen because Ringo's going to start to get less and less snaps. It's the same thing that happened last year. It was supposed to be really Isaiah Rodgers, and then, Kelee Ringo got a lot of reps, and then slowly over the weeks, Quinyon Mitchell was like, and then he was a starter. That's the only scenario, and it is only Adoree Jackson. The Eli Ricks hype train has died. It died last year. I mean, it has been dead. I'd love to see it come back, but it is just... it's on life support right now. We hear nothing about Eli Ricks at all, despite the fact that he was like the guy as a UDFA, feels like, 9 years ago. But
yeah,
I do think the only competitor is Adoree Jackson, and I think that the whole plan with Adoree Jackson is simply there if an injury were to happen. As Howie Roseman has shown the past couple of seasons, he wants to have backups. He wants to make sure his whole season doesn't hinge on the health of one player. That, to me, is the real idea for Adoree Jackson. And if something were to change, we're going to know about it really first as Eagle fans because we're going to notice who's starting where at practice.
100%, yes. And I'm with you on the point of all that, but it's one day. So
it is also one day.
We could say
also one day.
Ringo struggled, and even that is kind of a relative term because it's like, well, he gave up a couple plays. Nobody else reportedly had a couple big plays that, were torched on, but it's not like the offense was throwing all over the field and being super aggressive. I do think, and I'll just put this out there as my own personal hypothetical, I do think that the offense intentionally targeted Ringo. I do think that was a plan coming in, probably, of like, hey, we're gonna test, we're gonna see if he can hold up on that. Again, it's one day. He could win the battles tomorrow. He could win the battles for the next couple weeks. He could struggle. It could go back and forth, but he's getting those reps. And AJ said before that Kelee has that all-pro potential. He mentioned it in his presser today as well, of saying like, it's my job to get the corners better. It's the corners' jobs to get us better. Like, we go back and forth, so that iron sharpens iron element is totally there. And we're gonna see. But yes, as of the moment, and still probably even over the next week, even if Kelee like legit struggles for a couple days, I'm not gonna change it that quickly. Maybe in a couple weeks, maybe in the first preseason game, if we're like, okay, now we're not sure, but give him a little bit of time. Eagle 20 with a 2. Still can't believe how stacked our linebacker room feels. That is
Pretty
a
stacked.
very fun element. Very
It's pretty
much
stacked.
So. I mean,
It's
think
very
back,
much stacked.
Thomas, 1 year ago at this point in time,
I know.
and just the general consensus, right? Like we had, take it with some people like, oh, well, Zach Bond, maybe. But the general consensus overall, I think if people were being honest, was I have no earthly idea about Zach Bond. I hope that Vic Fangio's right because he's starting to get a few reps, or he's getting the reps at first team, but I had no idea. Nakobe Dean was mostly, shout out to all the people that were sticking with it, but the majority, more than 50%, seemed to be like, I don't think that this is going to work out for Nakobe.
Yeah.
Devin White, there was some hope there, yes, but he had really fallen off a cliff the past season. Maybe it was injuries, maybe it wasn't. I mean, there was a whole lot Jeremiah Trotter Jr., but it was the rookie element. Like, is he going to get the reps? So many question marks. And now, yes, like Eagle 20 was pointing out, it does feel that way. It's you're battling some injuries and trying to get, but when they're all healthy, it's the problem that we've discussed before. You're going to struggle to say, okay, who do you put on the field? Like, who goes out there? Because it seems like you have a lot of potential and a lot of guys who can actually live up to that. So kudos to Vic Fangio. He knows his linebackers, and you paid your All-Pro too. So got the job done with Zach Bond. Let's see. We got qualified 86 with the 10. Making sure I didn't miss the other one. Yeah, okay. Appreciate that. Got the 10 bomb. Said, loved A.J. Brown's comments about him and Hurts' chemistry and his belief in, yes, APC, All-Pro Coop, for people that don't know.
All-Pro Coop?
All-Pro Coop.
Haven't talked about Cooper DeJean. Got to start at the base defense for safety and then obviously played nickel the rest of the way. We talked about that during OTAs, so if you followed us during the offseason, you knew that was coming. But to do it day one, I think is kind of a seal of approval that your base defense safety for now is going to be Cooper DeJean. And that's simply to keep him on the football field longer because A.J. Brown thinks he can be an All-Pro, and obviously Vic Fangio thinks that he can be an All-Pro. We'll see if, Drew Makuba or Sidney Brown wins that battle. They're very much, neck and neck right now because they're rotating in as the 1, the 2, the 1, the 2. Maybe if one of them were to really go on a tear and prove they're the best safety, then they'll be the base defense and the nickel and the quarter and the dime guy. But it looks like for base defenses, it'll be the exciting Mikes, the exciting Whites on the back, and then DeJean will move to nickel, which it's a lot to ask, and it just shows you how much they really think he's going to be a special player. And this might be the year. He already exploded in the Super Bowl, and now he's super famous and stuff. But this could be the year where his whole aura around the league is like a Troy Polamalu, right? It's like somebody that you have to know where he's at on the football field every single time you break the huddle and go to the line. And it starts with him being on the field even more than he was at the end of 2024. And clearly, one day in, they're already trying to go ahead and do that.
The Athletics, Ted Wynn actually had a great article for the top versatile players. He made a top 10 list, most versatile players in the NFL. And I get that it's early, so I can't totally knock it. But Cooper DeJean was not in the top 10. And my thought was, okay, that's fine. It's one season. But if this season we go through and Cooper DeJean is playing nickel, as you're saying, like nickel in base, or nickel when they're not in base, but then in base goes to safety. Who knows? Maybe he gets some reps on the outside. He's already been doing it as a punt returner. There's not even a question. Cooper DeJean would have to be in a top 10 for most versatile players because his position's like football player. It's not even, there's your nickel corner. It's whatever I need to do to get that dude back out there on the field. And the fact that he's, literally just year 2, that's the thing that I forget. You think about him, and sometimes he seems like he's played for 4 or 5 years. He has the publicity, the support, obviously making the play that he did in the Super Bowl for the pick 6, but everything else there, and then the level of knowledge and the IQ that he plays with is not to the level of what you would think anyway of oh man, this dude's just his second year. Are you kidding me? So yeah, I'm absolutely hyped to see what does Vic Fangio do? How does he take that next step? What does Christian Parker develop as well? Because he's got such a great track record and resume on his side. And besides, I think it also goes to Q. We didn't really or haven't talked about him much. He made one play to break up a pass against A.J. Brown, but I think it's like the blessing of the fact that it's kind of quiet. He's so good. It's quiet, but there's everybody else taking the noise, and you kind of forget or go, oh yeah, we got our first round pick, our lockdown corner in Q over there. That's kind of just a foregone conclusion. You're like, yeah, he's good. He'll handle it. We'll be fine. It's it's a good place to be in.
Good problem to have.
That it is. Qualified also the final part of that I did mention, but said, I believe in great season, go Birds. Side note, Cam can shove it and kiss the ring.
Cam Newton's getting really annoying. I couldn't believe that he doubled down today. It's like, and it's the ultimate tweet I saw is that when asked, would you trade the MVP for a Lombardi ring? Cam said no. Jalen could care less about any of that. He just wants to win more rings. And that's the difference. And that's why Cam had one good season. A lot of people compared Jalen to Cam when he had his one good season where he lost the Super Bowl in 2022. And now the difference is that Jalen has been back to a Super Bowl, looked better in that Super Bowl, which is hard to believe because he was great in the first one and won it and won the MVP. So, Cam is Cam. Cam's going to do what Cam does. And, people are going to listen to what he says because he's Cam Newton, but doesn't mean he says things that are right all the time. And it's quite the contrary. So, what are you going to do?
Not at all. But, he's talking and people listen and, it creates some controversy. So, sure, some people, the main thing is winning, and others, it's a little bit more selfish motive, and you can absolutely hear that. I think it was cool by the fact, too, that everybody is literally, they've not only heard the message from Nick Sirianni, but they're repeating it as well of saying, keeping the main thing, can't be great without the greatness of others. Hardly anyone, if anyone, even mentions or talks about, like, win the division or get to the playoffs or win the Super. It's like, get better today. And I love that. Now, it's not, to say secretly to themselves, is there a little bit of thought? Maybe. It's human nature, possibly, I think. But there's also an element where you look at some of these guys, you're like, man, they're totally bought in to living in the present moment, the present day, and winning that, and everything else forget about. You don't hear that around the league. I was listening to, I think somebody posted Justin Fields' press conference, and he's talking about, win the division, then the goal of getting to the playoffs and everything else. That's fine to have like the long term, but even putting it out there to the press like they do, you just don't really hear that as much from this squad. So again, it just goes back to the different mindset that we have, and some guys are maybe a little bit less for the team players, and it comes with the territory. So
yep.
Nate with the 2, appreciate that, man, says, wasn't there talk of Campbell on the edge some?
He had a play where he got in Jalen's face on a blitz.
Yes.
But I think that came from the inside linebacker position. Again, we don't get to watch unless you're there. I don't think he was technically at edge for that play. But in terms of overall, there's been plenty of talk of him playing both positions, edge rusher and linebacker, more linebacker with a sprinkle of edge, what he did at Alabama. So the answer is yes, but he did have a good blitz today, but I believe it was an A-gap blitz from the Mike position versus, an edge rusher from the edge, if you will.
Yes. Yep. I agree. That was, I think, how I at least saw it and how it was reported. So not to say that he can't, right? The versatility, maybe we see it in the future, but I think as far as today goes, nothing on that side. Initially, getting the off-ball linebacker reps. Let's see, 2 from Eagle 1. Matt, appreciate that. Says, camp is here. Let it rain memberships, and then follows up with 10 more Philly Special Show memberships. So congratulations to all you people there. You got 10 more. Matt is the man, gifting those things out like candy. Appreciate that. That means a lot, very much. You guys are awesome. Make this community what it is. Let's see. I think, making sure I didn't miss any other of the super chats or comments there. Yeah, I believe that was the last one there. Anything else? I'm just double checking, going through the tweets or the topics. I feel like we've covered the vast majority of the headlines and topics. Just kind of going.
It's crazy because we've had weeks of not much to talk about, and now there's so much to talk about that it's like we got to make sure we hit all the topics. So it's a good problem to have.
Yes.
We hit on Terrence Marshall. We hit on Campbell. We hit on. Did we talk about Jalen Carter? Did you mention when we were having technical difficulties, Jalen Carter?
Very briefly, as you were having technical difficulties. Yes,
Okay. People know.
Yeah. Yes.
He clearly has some minor thing, and it's extremely minor and nothing to worry about. That's the Jalen Carter news today. So just so people are clear on that. If it was a game, he'd probably be playing. Yes.
Yep. Which he had a shoulder injury. So, I don't know. I was trying to look and see. I haven't been able to confirm if it's the same shoulder, but we do. I think most of us remember that it was like he was all throughout the season last year. He would occasionally Jalen Carter, questionable shoulder, and then he's good, no issue. And then he'd pop up again, Jalen Carter, questionable shoulder. I don't know if it's the same one, so maybe it's a precaution. Who knows if he did have a procedure on it and it's just the delay there. We'll eventually probably get a little bit more info, but either way, it's not as you said, not a major issue, concern. So I saw a few, not very many, but a few that were like, oh my gosh, is he going to miss time? Is he going to be out, on a pup list or whatnot. But yeah, we can pump the brakes. We'll be all right. The bread man will be fine.
He's fine. Other than that, I think we got it all. I think that's it. And buckle up, people, because this is day one, right? I mean, training camp is weeks long, right? I mean, we have till September, it's either 4th or 6th. I always forget. But we have a month and a half, essentially, to go through this. There'll be ups and downs. There's going to be news here and there. Take everything with a grain of salt.
Yep.
Look for patterns. I said on my show, look for someone starting consistently. Look for someone playing consistently. Don't take Kelee Ringo getting beat once as gospel. Take Kelee Ringo getting beat weeks as gospel. I mean, these are the kind of things you got to do for training camp. Josh and I will cover it all because that's what we're supposed to do. You guys want to know what happened at practice today? We will tell you, but look for patterns. We'll try to point them out as well. That's where you actually learn about what's going on at training camp and not, one play from the Eagles social media team on Twitter or one, bad play from X player. We're looking for patterns. That's what actually matters.
There we go. And hopefully we'll see being at training camp. So still working to get the official date set there. But,
we're going to try to be there.
Said we're good.
So we'll let you guys know.
We'll, yes, very much of a heads up on that. So appreciate you guys as always. Ty Robinson, didn't hear much. That's the last bit there. I saw a few comments. Didn't hear much on that side. Again,
Nothing yet.
It's
day one.
Day one. So
we
sometimes it takes a little bit more, especially for the interior defensive lineman, get a little bit more contact. So keep you posted, though. Videos are already out for Thomas. Got one here myself in, I don't know, maybe an hour-ish or so. But stay tuned. More to come. Eagles practicing tomorrow, too, so we'll have recaps then. And make sure to like and subscribe on your way out. Until next time. Go Birds.
Go Birds.